Hi guys, it's LaRonda with Root Design Company, and today we're sharing our dahlia planting video with you. We planted our dahlias a week ago today, and they're about 2 weeks behind schedule. We had our last frost on May 13th, I think, and that was immediately followed by about a week of torrential rain, so we're pretty late getting in the ground this year. We do like to pot up our dahlias, and that's just to give them protection from the rain while they're getting established, but also to have dahlias a bit sooner. They kind of go off the hook here in August and September, and if we pot them up, we can get blooms in July. So in our garden, we do a no-dig method, and that just means that when we clear the beds in the fall, we cover them immediately with compost or leaves or something, and then we plant right into them in the spring. We don't turn the soil over and expose more weed seeds that way. And we plant our dahlias single file, and each of these rows is one single row of dahlias, and we stake them pretty heavily. We've lost a lot of dahlias to flop and wind, so we're pretty militant with our staking. And it's good to keep record of where you plant which varieties of dahlias. You know, when you're digging them up in the fall, you think, oh, I'll remember what was here. Well, all the tubers look the same. So we keep a chart of where we plant them, and we also mark each plant. We put the plant tag, I guess it would be, in the ground with the dahlia. And then before the last frost in the fall, we'll go through and actually tie onto the stalks the name of the plant. Just because all tubers look the same and it's easy to get them mixed up. Here we're just digging holes. You want to make sure that the neck of the tuber is 2 inches below the surface of the soil, and that just helps to give it more stability during wind and as it's growing. And then we like to mix in a bit of organic fertilizer. This is just a granular fertilizer that we mix ourselves. We buy the components at garden stores or on Amazon. And then be sure to kind of stir it into the bottom of the hole there. That way it's not just straight up fertilizer. And then you just plant your dahlias. It's pretty simple. We like to use a variety of containers for different sizes, and you don't have to buy expensive containers. That was a yogurt container there. Just be sure that the container you do start them in has good drainage, because they don't like to be too wet when they're sending out their shoots. And there you can see we're putting the tag right there with it. It's important to also stake your dahlias. I mentioned that earlier, but we've lost, we had a great big old cafe plant our first year of growing. I think that was the first dahlia we bought, that and Crickton honey. And we lost it to just a thunderstorm that came through the night before we were gonna stake it. We're like, oh, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. Well, the whole thing had flopped. And then basically the stalks are pretty, I don't know what the word would be for them. They can break off pretty easy. So it was a total loss. I mean, the tubers sent up more stalks, but we had to wait another month for them. So take our word for it, stake them. And if you don't have a lot of dahlias, you don't have to do our method. I would just do a tomato cage or whatever you can find to keep your dahlias upright. And we like to, this is, Rosita has drilled this into me, is to press firmly when you plant any kind of plant in the ground, because roots don't like to have air pockets. And then when you're planting just straight up tubers in the ground, we do that as well. Just make sure that the stalk is facing straight up. And you can see here the stalks are really long. That's because we're about 2 weeks behind here. And make sure that that's pointing to the sky and it has good support at the neck, and then you should be good to go. Pretty much the same exact thing there. So we wish you a lot of success with your dahlias this year. And I'm gonna go ahead and link our 10 tips for growing dahlias down in the description below. We have a blog post about it. So be sure to check that out if you have more questions. We talk about pinching your dahlias, about feeding them, fertilizing them, just good practices for growing a lot of dahlias.